I'm Phil Liggett, and this is The Wheelhouse.
It's very hip-hop.
Very hip-hop.
Very hip-hop.
You're in quite a mood.
I am very happy to be back in the bunker on the Wheelhouse podcast. Very happy to be with you in the mysterious bunker for the second time in 2023. My name's Joel Spreadbury. Kate Bates is here as well. You've got a lot to talk about. We've got a lot to talk about. It's a big show. The summer of cycling, it's been hot, it's been cold, it's been everything in Australia. We're going to talk about what came out of it. Also, one of our favourites has called it a day. One of everyone's favourites has called it a day. We're going to go through the career.
We're in mourning
of the great Pieterse Sagan as well. San Juan, Argentina, lots happening over there. Lots happened over there. Thrills, spills, and everything in between as well. And a battle of two giants coming your way on the Wheelhouse podcast. First and foremost, hello, Catherine Bates.
Hello, Joel. How good is it to be back in the bunker?
Yeah.
And look, we dress the bunker in here. So if you're watching, you can see it. But if you're listening, we've got a fair bit of paraphernalia from jerseys, chicks who ride bikes, jerseys, 6 day. I've just brought back from the Cadel Evans Great Ocean Road Race, the road books and a cap. But we've got a new addition today because the legends at the Parramatta Cycling Club have sent me a new season jersey.
That's why you said paraphernalia, isn't it? We've got paraphernalia.
I know. So thank you very much to the guys there. It's always a little bit of home. The bunker is in Queensland, but I am, born and bred in the western suburbs of New South Wales, and my heart is always at Parramatta. So, yes, our set looks beautiful today.
Very slick wardrobe from the guys at Para, the guys and girls who put it all together. Massive
Indeed,
shout out. Thank you for helping.
Not as good as our watermelon-coloured Champsis kit. And a reminder to anybody who may want a bit of our merch that you can follow the link on our social media because you can get yourself some now.
The shop is open for business, and I must say I need to go to the shop because I've been wearing this watermelon number for most of the run of this podcast so far, so I think I might be our first customer and get the ball rolling. It's one of those things where if one person comes along, then the others will follow. That's
Momentum.
what I'm going to go with.
Momentum.
Let's kick off with some hard-hitting news. I don't know if it was completely unexpected, but also a little bit, it's actually happening. I'm talking, of course, about Pieterse Sagan. It has hit hard at the Wheelhouse. Our very own Merksy is not just, he takes Superfan to a new level, absolutely loves him. Stepping away from his World Tour cycling career. Where do we start with this? How are you feeling about Pieterse Sagan's call?
Oh, God. I mean, he retires. He announces his retirement in the kind of style that only Pieterse Sagan could. Very charismatic rider. He threw himself a birthday party at the Tour of San Juan. And not a small shindig, I might add, like full on, lights and staging and all that sort of jazz. Ostensibly to celebrate his 33rd birthday. But as visitors rocked up, they realised that it was maybe something more. There were monitors, rolling montages of his career. He and all his teammates and his closest allies on the staff, they all had Pieterse Sagan T-shirts on. It was a thing. And so he announced that he wants to go out on top. He wants his last year in the World Tour to be this year, that he's achieved everything he wants to. And I think in quite beautifully, he wants to spend more time with his son, Marlon, who he's missed out on a lot of him growing up while he's been racing, and he feels like the time is now. But there's a caveat to it, Joel. He's retiring from World Tour Road, but he's planning on ending his career at the Paris Olympics on the mountain bike.
I love this about the story. Firstly, just on the party quickly, if you turn up to that party thinking this is just a birthday party and you're looking across and you're seeing highlight reels of the birthday boy and people wearing shirts, are you sitting there going, gee, it's a bit of a self-indulgent birthday party? Then all of a sudden, oh, wow, actually, oh, geez.
For anybody else, yes.
Yeah, okay.
I think for Pete, it's so on brand.
Okay.
It is so on brand. And one of the reporters there, the delightful Laura Masuga from Spain, she covers a lot of these races in Spanish and in English as well, but she's an incredible journalist. Now, she interviewed him and she said, I'm very sad that you're retiring. And in a way that only Pieterse Sagan could, he said, but I'm not dead. That was his
I'm
response,
so glad to hear an
"But I
athlete
am
say
not
that,
dead."
because there's always such an in memoriam thing going on when
It
athletes
is.
retire. It's like they're still here, they're just not
Yeah.
going to be competing. But look, it is
Yeah.
a monumental call. But look, I like the symmetry of finishing where it all started on the mountain bike in Paris.
Yes.
Imagine if there's just imagine. Can you just imagine if?
Oh, now this is a bit of a contentious one.
All right.
And in fact, this coincides with the most hate I've ever received on social media.
Oh dear. Okay.
So in 2016 in Rio, Peter Sagan decided not to do the road and to do the mountain bike because he thought the course wouldn't suit him.
Yep.
So he opted for mountain bike. I commentated the mountain bike with Scott McGrory, and I said very early on that I didn't think Peter Sagan would be very good in the race. The likes of Nino Schurter, like the most incredible mountain bikers with their pedigree and their skills.
Yep.
And he was at the peak of his career, absolutely. But what he lacked on that day was the specific mountain bike skills. And so he got a number of pinch flats, which you get on the mountain bike from, hitting a rock too hard, essentially not really having those skills dialed in.
Mm-hmm.
I said this on air, and let me tell you, Peter Sagan fans, they came for me. En masse. They were like, what would you know? You're a trackie. What would you know about mountain biking?
Stay off the dirt, Bates.
I can say that it's the only time I've been satisfied to see Peter Sagan not go well because I felt validated.
You're just sitting there going, vindication.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I hope that he actually takes the time to dial his skills back in because I think he does have full picture and he loves the mountain bike and he is capable, and I'd love to see him finish on a high. But this is a guy, we've got a graphic up here in the studio, 121 total pro wins, Joel.
That's incredible. Yeah.
18 Grand Tour stage wins, 3 world titles on the trot, might I add. A nice hat trick there. Yep. 8-time winner of the green jersey at the Tour de France. And probably more than that, you're a bit newer to the sport than Peter Sagan is, Joel. You weren't a fan back in 2012 when he started winning at the Tour de France. But he was known when he was young for these celebrations at the finish. And his teammates would put him up to it. So they'd say to him like, oh, today if you win, imagine being that good that you can do this. But today if you win, why don't you do a Forrest Gump? Because they tell him...
Oh, the running man, of course, yes,
to just keep running. And so his second stage win at the Tour de France in 2012, he's doing a bit of a run. And interestingly, because he was young then, he was only 22, geez, it ruffled some feathers. Like at the time, Robbie Hunter, a South African professional sprinter, very good, very well respected, came out and was like, I think it's disrespectful.
Okay, so it ruffled feathers into this as a highly unorthodox kind of...
insofar as he was just winning so easily that he could do these elaborate celebrations.
So they're sort of thinking, you're taking the piss a bit here. Like you're not respecting...
But he was, because he was that much better, and he was 22, and he's Peter Sagan.
Yeah.
But over the years, there's been a whole heap. He did a chicken dance. Like that kind of chicken.
I know it very well.
Dance.
I wanted it to be my bridal waltz, but I got voted off anyway.
I think Lee made a good decision there voting that up. He's done wheelies over the line. He's done like the bodybuilder kind of like pose.
The pythons.
He's gotten the pythons out.
Yes.
He's kind of done it all. He's been very
I
charismatic. I love him.
Yes, I love that for an athlete in a sport that's charismatic without taking it too far. And I'll compare it to the likes. Let's look at a Nick Kyrgios, for example, someone who is quite charismatic, but just oversteps and makes himself look like a bit of a douche canoe.
I know, but people... douche canoe, you're stealing that from me.
That.
But people come to watch him.
They do, exactly.
And people have always come to watch Peter Sagan since he started winning. And on the celebrations, the one that I forgot to mention, but he's one of my favies, he did the hula.
Yeah, I know that you love the hula. Okay,
I just think that's just really cool.
You didn't message him and say, "Can you do one for me? Do
no,
one hula?"
No, I tried, but 1-800-Sagan
it didn't work.
Just didn't connect.
And can I issue a personal apology to Peter? Congratulations on your amazing success, and I'm so sorry for the first time I ever got to chat about you in the mainstream media. I called you Peter Sagan, and I will never live that down. And it's caused a lot of teasing on the wheelhouse, and I wanted to say sorry. What a guy,
sorry,
what an
Petto.
athlete.
Wow.
Really superstitious kind of guy, and I think I like that too. Like, I think cycling has a lot of superstition. It's up there with like cricket, golf. There's a lot of superstition in sports like that. What's behind that from someone that is so good and is going to win anyway and is pre-planning winning celebrations that knows that they're good enough to win? Why are they still so superstitious?
I don't know the exact answer to that, but I can say that most of them are. I was.
Yeah.
I'm not generally. Well, it's almost like, what have you got to lose? Like, just in case it is a thing, don't tempt it.
Okay.
You know, like if you get number 13, you got to wear it upside down.
Yes.
I went an entire season with number 13. I wore it upside down every time. Worst season of my career, might I add.
So number 31.
It almost looks like, a kind of weird numbering system. And to the point where, because Italians are very superstitious, if you're in Italy and you turn up with number 13 on and you haven't turned it upside down, they will tell you to turn it upside down.
Oh, really?
Right? So it's just a thing. But so the story goes, in the middle of an interview, one of the journalists asked him about winning the green jersey again.
Okay.
And he answered, but then took off in a run in the other direction. And the journalist was like, what on earth is going on here?
Yeah, smelling going, do I stink or something?
To hit a piece of wood before he came back to finish the question.
Oh, wow.
So it's not like simmering under.
No,
it's
that's
like
okay.
right there.
Okay.
But he's not the only one. I reckon there's a whole episode in these superstitions.
Oh, there sure is.
That are on the bike.
I've always been fascinated by it, not just in cycling, but since being involved, like seeing how acute it is with so many of the leading lights, and again that are so capable of winning without superstition, but have all of these things that give them a sense of comfort and security, I guess, before they get on the track.
There's so many athletes who have a really distinctive on the start line thing.
Yeah.
Like Michelle Jenica, one of our track athletes, she does this jiggly dance.
Yeah, yes.
Katie McTeer, who was Australia's best ever individual pursuit rider.
Yep.
She had a funny thing she did with her lip on the start line.
Yep.
I had this weird thing with my eyebrows. I know that sounds really odd, but I'd like smooth them out.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Did you have like wax in your hands or
no,
something?
but it was just like every time, and it was almost this weird habit, but I felt like it was ridiculous, but I also felt like it'd be the one time I didn't do it that, shit would hit the fan. And
pre-race rituals.
Come on now. So there you go.
It's such a big thing with pro athletes. I could rattle off so many. Like Steve Smith, the cricketer, is a shocker. Like you
What
go
does
to
he
watch
do?
him bat and he sits there doing...
Oh, all like twitchy.
Before he faces the ball. Rafael Nadal takes 5 hours to serve in tennis because he has to do this and then bounce the ball
face
6
poking.
million times and then go back to doing
for
this
our
again.
listeners, Joel is like poking his face
I
in an
almost
odd
poked
manner.
myself in the
Don't
eye.
poke your eye out.
Anyway, look, I want to talk about the races he won just quickly. So 121 wins, all of them great. Not just about the wins, but the way he achieved the wins. What have you got to say about this?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's the kind of athlete, when he first started, he was just easily winning bunch sprints and dominating in that regard. And as he's aged, his style has changed a bit, where he's become possibly less explosive but more powerful and been able to ride higher powers for longer. And that saw him win Paris-Roubaix, saw him win Flanders, these kind of races that it's not just about the pure sprint. And he has evolved as an athlete where on the days that he hasn't felt the sprint, because he's very self-aware, the sprint has been there. He's gone in long breakaways. He's gone at the Tour in moves specifically just to get the intermediate sprint points to make sure he got that green jersey, even on a day that might not necessarily suit him. And the way that he won his 3 world titles in a row, that just shows, on 3 very different courses where you wouldn't necessarily have picked him for all 3, he was a bit of a chameleon in the way that he approached different races and different strategies. He definitely is in the back end of his best, but people are saying, like people close to him are saying, he's coming back to a point that is as good as he's ever been.
Wow,
and
okay.
he will not go out quietly. So I'm pretty excited about the season ahead, actually. I think, Mercksy will be very excited because for years he's been saying it's Pedo's day and he's been wrong on most occasions.
Watch this space from the 2008 Junior World Mountain Bike Champion. Quote there saying it's like watching Lionel Messi play football. That's very high praise, but look, not terrible praise there.
No, he's hard to replace from a personality point of view. So
okay, well, look, we salute you, sir, whose name is Mr. Peter Sagan, forevermore on the Wheelhouse podcast. What a career, and looking forward to see what happens in Paris. Because all I'll say is, can you imagine? There's a T-shirt. Can you imagine Peter Sagan on the back of the shirt? We'll put that up. Now, you've been busy, as always. You're back from Geelong. Firstly, how was the trip working on Channel 7's broadcast? You did a great job, by the way.
Oh, thank you, Joel. I appreciate that. Yeah, I did the hosting and the commentary, which are two quite distinct roles. Hosting requires a very different preparation than the commentary.
Yep.
Commentary, you really have to deep dive and get so much information about the athletes. And I actually love doing it just from a personal interest perspective, because you don't normally have time to do such a deep dive on each athlete on the start list, except when you're preparing for commentary.
Yeah.
So there's always some fun facts. But we had some winners that definitely weren't on the top of the favourites list.
Most definitely, yeah.
And as always, it delivered. It's such a cool race. And they changed the course up a little bit this year to, make it a bit more interesting for the most part until they get back into Geelong. So it's a long kind of jaunt out onto the Great Ocean Road. It's beautiful, it's scenic. And then they come back in and all the action happens around the streets of Geelong. It was so cool. Like, both of them, nail-biter, absolute nail-biter finish. I just loved it. Like, gives me such a good feeling. And all of the athletes love racing it because they know that if you're a mild favourite, you could do it. It's almost about who puts on the toughest pants that day. So in the women, we had Loes Adegeest win. And Joel, she's the world esports champion.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of the esports athletes. And she kind of shocked herself.
She did. And can I just give a quick mention of our Spratty?
Yes.
Is it the blue shoes, the lack of blue shoes? She's such a phenomenal, ferocious athlete. That little joust that they had there, over those kilometres, was extraordinary. Spratty falling short. Adegeest, though, wow, this esports, this isn't the end. We speak about Jay Vine a lot, but these graduates that are proving themselves. I think more than anything, she's a phenomenal climber. She's got a heart. What's the old saying? She's got the heart the size of Uluru. Never stops. She's not. This isn't the last we're going to see of these athletes coming through this production line.
No,
is it?
And in fact, when I interviewed her post-race, she was genuinely as shocked as she was thrilled.
Yeah,
and I think it's because it's her first year in the Women's World Tour in real life racing.
Yeah.
She's clearly very talented. The numbers don't lie, but she hasn't had the experience in the World Tour, and I think she herself didn't realise how well she would climb, and found herself in the position. And when it was coming down to a 2-up sprint with she and Amanda Spratty kind of had, she did her best, but
of course.
she wasn't going to be able to out sprint her. And I think Spratty's like close but no cigar again.
I'm telling you, it's the shoes.
It'll come back around.
Of course it will.
It will. Yeah. It'll come back around. She's got such good form, but I must say that she's such a good sport. Yeah. And on the podium, she always is so thrilled for whoever has beaten her when she's coming second. But there was a little moment, Joel, in the presentation where I saw Spratty's face go a little bit like...
a glint. You saw a glint.
A glint of frustration. Yeah. But she's such a good sport, she wouldn't let that hang around for too long because she doesn't want to be the story amongst that win. But I can tell that she's very frustrated. And Rachel Neylan was the other one. Absolutely phenomenal ride. But she made one mistake on the first climb, positioned herself poorly, and had to spend a lot of energy to bridge across to the break. And that was kind of it for her. Yeah. And you could almost see steam coming out of her ears because she had no teammates there to help and to bridge. And it was a good reminder that so much of it is about strategy. Yep. Like who crosses the line first, especially at a race like Cadel's, isn't necessarily the best legs. Yep. I think Adegeest probably was best strategy and best legs, but it's very much about how you play the race. And we saw the same unfold in the fellows race.
I want to go, we'll go into the blokes race. Can I get an Aussie report card from you? Because we saw a little bit more frustration from Michael Matthews and Caleb not quite there. What did you make of their performances, I guess, going from Adelaide to Geelong?
Well, going into Cadel's, we certainly had very high hopes. Michael Matthews, big favourite, no
Massive
question.
favourite, yeah.
And Caleb.
Cadel making a miraculous comeback.
Woo!
Yeah.
Oh gosh, he probably, if he jumped on the bike, he probably would be there at the finish. Caleb was a good favourite if he could get over the climbs, because it's a bit of an if on that course. He has before, he's won there before. He's been on the podium there before. He hasn't won there before. But if they race really hard over the climbs, the sprinters don't really have much of a chance.
Gassed, yeah.
They did their best. Caleb was there at the finish, but he was cooked, completely cooked, had no chance, just had thrown everything out there already and didn't have his top end left.
Yeah.
And I think similar for Michael Matthews. But at the end of the day, the relatively unknown, never had a pro win before, Marius Meyerhofer, just came through with the goods, shocked the heck out of himself.
Highly emotional,
Holy
wasn't he?
moly,
Yeah.
And I think that also goes, we actually spoke about it last week, like early season, sometimes you get surprise wins, if you want to use that word, because they've had a big winter training. We haven't seen them for a while.
Yeah.
And a lot of the young riders are on such a steep improvement that this is where we get to see, coming good of all the hard work that they've done.
Okay.
So, it was cool to see Meyerhofer win, but I think really frustrating for Michael Matthews.
Do you see Meyerhofer, do you see sort of this being the start of a beautiful season for him, or was it just like, oh, wow, a lotto ticket sort of race day?
I don't know. Good question.
Yeah.
I mean, he's clearly, to be able to get to the end of that kind of race, a long, hard race on that kind of terrain and still have a sprint left, when we know how classy Michael Matthews is and we know that he's in good form, and he also finished ahead of Aussie Simon Clark, who, Tour de France stage winner from last year. So he's taken some big scalps in that regard, but I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, watch this space.
Big field, long, hot summer. That'd be absolutely exhausted. Some people come to Australia to go to the beach in summer, but no, let's do that.
Gosh, there was a bit of beach going in between. I tell you what, it was so hot down there.
It would have been ridiculous.
Yeah, I went for a swim in the Geelong Ocean Pool.
Okay,
Eastern
it's beautiful.
Beach. It was lovely.
Yeah. Wow, Geelong. So congratulations. That's awesome. Loes Adegeest, I think for mine the more impressive of the two victors, just for that finish. It was a thrilling kind of finish, but good event. You're back. Let's go to Argentina on the Wheelhouse podcast.
We're travelling this week, aren't we?
San Juan. Angel Lopez for the win. What about that? I saw Remco making I think it was 14 or 15 kilometres out making an attack.
Yeah.
And everyone else just go, whoa, what are you doing? Stop. No, not now. Stop that.
I love seeing the world champion attack. It's always good to see the rainbow stripes being aggressive.
I love the reaction in the peloton. It's just like, there's just the little subtle sort of, oh shit, what's happening? Oh no, this isn't.
I know. I mean, because some you're like, we'll chase back.
Yeah.
But him, you're like, I
don't think we will.
Oh heavens, fellas!
They did on this occasion, thankfully.
They did. Yes, Miguel Angel Lopez. He took out the whole tour. I've got a bit of a theory going here. I'm going to just break it out now. He was dismissed from Astana toward the end of last year. He was riding here for Medellin, which is like a local Colombian team. So San Juan is in Argentina, but a lot of the Colombian teams were present because it's a pro tour event, not a world tour event.
Yep.
So we had a bit of a different mix of fields. He was sensational. He was on sensational form and he rode really well. His team were great, but they're certainly not as stacked as some of the other teams. So I think that makes his win even more impressive.
Yeah.
But to my conspiracy theory, is he was dismissed from Astana at the end of last year, November, December. And they said it's because he was fraternising with a drug smuggling ring. It was all a little bit dodgy. With undesirables. Yeah. And he got dismissed from his contract.
Ooh, okay.
I'm going to put it out there that I reckon they use that as an excuse to get rid of him to free up some cash for Cavendish.
Wow.
Yeah.
So are you seeing a theme of teams stepping down, putting the foot down, I guess, on questionable fraternisations, associations? And look, there are laws in some places where if you get caught hanging out with criminal types, you're in trouble. Is that what's happening?
But look, I mean, Astana don't really mind their dopers, so I don't. That's a big statement.
Could you say that again, just right into the mic for us?
No, I will not. I apologise to the legal team. But it's not that they've ever necessarily been on their high horse about this kind of fraternising. And so I find that a little, I think it was just a good excuse. And I mean, the other one that you can throw in that bucket is Quintana and the Tramadol. But he was out of contract, and so I think it's a little bit different.
Okay.
It's a bit different. But I think generally teams have to be more careful with bringing, associated dopers or back into the fold, where historically a lot of forgiveness has happened and second chances. I think realistically there's so much talent that you just, why would you?
Well, 100%. And I think if that's not the actual reason, it's really crap of the teams to put that as the reason.
I do. I know.
That's not good for the athlete
it's
either.
So very Astana of them.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. There's another one.
Oh,
okay.
Sorry, legal team.
Merksy, can you get on to the lawyers?
Because
Aussie, let's move on. Whether it was free and cash for Cav. Look, the good news is Cav has a team. We'll just mention that again for the 800th time.
You're just moving us on before we get
in any more
here.
trouble.
Yes, okay.
Sam Welsford, 2 stage wins. Again, another announcement on the road. He's a 4-time world champion on the track, a silver and bronze Olympic medalist. Second year with DSM, not a bad outing in Argentina.
No, 2 wins, 2 big sprint wins. Really great result. He's only had 1 win on the road at this level with DSM, and that was the Presidential Tour of Turkey last year in stage 5.
Okay.
That was an impressive victory as well.
Yep.
He does come from the track. He's 27 now, I think. He's got shoulders like a front rower, used to be a rugby union player.
Yep.
He's done tremendous things on the track. I mean, to be 4-time world champion, teams pursuit and scratch race. So the guy can sprint and he knows how to navigate a bunch as well. And I think we're only just starting to see him emerge in the capacity that he can on the road. Without the track focus, I think he would have been in this position 5 years ago. It's just delayed his progress, but he's certainly super talented. And it wasn't an easy field to win in either. Yep. It's not a low-level race.
Well, that's, massive.
It's a funny thing about San Juan. It's not a World Tour race, but the teams show up like it is.
Yeah.
So it's one of the only Pro Tour races that you take as seriously as a World Tour race.
It's a perfect trial, a season trial, sort of get into the pre-season trials, basically.
Well, and look, it'll be great for his season because it means that they will back him for some other big races and big results and put the team behind him to do so.
It saves them flying all the way to Australia too. Let's go to Argentina instead. That's fine.
I would have liked to see him at the Tour Down Under, but...
Another one of those reasonably fresh, new coming. We mentioned a few. Marius, obviously, in Cadel. We're going to mention that name again. Jay Vine, this new... generation coming through. It's exciting. It
is.
Especially when some of the forerunners at the moment are quite young themselves as well.
So, and DSM are having a good trot as well.
Yeah, hell of a trot.
Hell of a trot.
Great trot.
Yes.
Let's talk about Fabio Jakobsen in San Juan because there was a bit of drama, a bit of D-rama on that last stage. So you've got a bit of background here because he's had some injury issues, some nasty falls before. This one really strikes me. It takes me back again to that horrendous 2020 Tour de France opening stage, I believe. Remember Signgate?
Yes.
Look at this. We've got an image. If you want to have a look on our social media, and you'll find this image, a fan with a phone. It looks like the fan is punching him in the face as he goes past. It actually looks...
Seriously.
He's going for a photo.
He's going for a photo. He's extended it out past the barriers, hanging over the barriers with his phone out, trying to take a photo. And he's fair clipped Jakobsen in the face.
In the face.
The phone and the glasses have gone flying, laceration to Jakobsen's face. Now, as a standalone incident, this is pretty tough to watch. They're going upward of 70 to 80 kilometres per hour. The fact that he held it up and didn't fall is remarkable.
And still finished second on the stage.
Yes.
But mind you,
behind Sam Welsford.
Yeah. It's Aussie, Australia. Yeah.
That was remarkable. But given Jakobsen's history, I think this is a much bigger discussion point. So Jakobsen had a horrendous fall in the Tour of Poland, a fall that, quite honestly, he was lucky to survive. The fact that he is even racing again is remarkable.
Yep.
I mean, there's so many people in the sport who hold quite a lot of emotional scars from that, from the fact that that can happen, that that's part of the job, that sometimes they're put in this kind of danger when the safety and the organisation, where they haven't put enough measures in to keep the athletes protected. And it's had some ramifications. It has led to some, the UCI having a bit more of a focus on keeping the athletes safe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put it out there once again. Hello, UCI, we love you. They're not doing a very good job. So they've got these barriers in that essentially slant backwards so that even if people do hang over them, there is still,
There's no gap. There needs to be
there's a space. Yeah, but the fans need to be further back again.
Exactly.
Because the fact that a cheering fan can hit an athlete going that speed, it's just not okay.
Yep.
And can you imagine, he's gotten back on the bike after this Poland incident, and it's taken him years, including a dozen facial reconstructive surgeries.
Wow.
For him to even be racing, I think shows the mental fortitude beyond what most of us can even imagine, to then have this kind of incident.
No, it's not fair. It's ridiculous.
It really gets me. And, he was pretty composed at the end, and he said he needed to trust his lead out a little bit more. And the reason he was in that position is because he kind of made an error.
Yep.
But even if he made an error in the sprint, he was riding safely. He was riding legally. He was riding in the field of play, and this still happened. It should not happen. But look, I just think he's remarkable. But it does go to show the fact that he said afterwards he wasn't following his lead out very well, that he's still having some doubts. He's still finding the confidence, and he does need to work really well with the quick step lead out train. The lead out train who took Mark Cavendish to so many victories.
Indeed,
I might add.
The Cav train.
So it is the best. It's the best lead out of any team in the world.
Yeah.
Kind of unrivaled. He needs to trust them a little bit more, because then I think we will see him winning many, many, many stages in the future. It's just a little bit about confidence, but sending him all our thoughts, because this would knock your confidence a little bit.
Oh, it's actually infuriating, and it's not at all okay, because they're far too close, and it's not about they're athletes. It's like no, this is a safety issue for not just the athlete, the fan as well. Like, you could get really cleaned up.
You just wouldn't tolerate it in other sports.
No,
I don't understand why cycling lets this happen.
Not
again
even just
and again.
sport, Kate Bates. Not even. I went to the Red Hot Chili Peppers concert the other night, right near the front. Try as I might, I couldn't reach out and touch Flea because there was a safety barrier of 3 or 4 meters, as there well should have been.
Yeah, right.
Cricket, boundary ropes. People can't field on the fence anymore because it's dangerous. People get excited, drunk.
Yes.
I don't know, I'm going to start
You're
absolutely
worked up
ranting
about this,
here.
but I think it's fair.
I don't
fair.
like it. I don't like it. Anyway, CycloCross World's coming up. Let's change direction
Speaking
now.
of craziness on the bike.
Showdowns. Your man. I think this might be our first mention of the year of the one and only.
I think so.
WVA, Wout van Aert. Is this our first mention?
I think so. Welcome back, Wout.
Sorry, I stole the mention from you there too. That's massive from me, yeah.
No, not at all. It is exciting times. We've got the World Championships coming up in Hoogerheide.
And two besties come together for another showdown.
We've got, we'll start with the women because they have an incredibly deep field.
Yep.
It's really cool actually how the women's has evolved over the last couple of years. And we've got highlighting Fem Van Empel and Puck Pieterse.
Yep.
Fem dominated the early season in the cyclocross. She had a bit of a nasty crash and her back was a little bit twinged, but I believe she's coming back into form. Puck Pieterse won the Dutch National Championships last weekend or the weekend before. She's in incredible form. It'll be a showdown. Our reigning world champion, Marianne Vos, is not back because she's got back issues. It's a very common theme here, back issues.
Yeah.
And I think that these two ladies are going to give us one of the biggest showdowns that we've had to date. In the under-23 women, we've got Sharon Van Anrooy and Zoe Backstead. Now, that's interesting, Joel, because they could both race elite and have been racing elite
Zoe
all
has
season.
shown, absolutely. Just her class, that's for sure.
But I guess if you've got a category, why not race in it and try and take the rainbows?
Dominate.
Get
in and dominate. What's your shout? So we love femme. We talk about femme a lot on the Wheelhouse podcast. Let's get some tips quickly on the elite women.
I'm actually going to go for Puck Peters.
Puck Peters definitely wins the best name.
I was about
medal.
to say that.
Yes.
If nothing else, she comes in with the best name.
Yes.
Madam Peters. Yes.
You're going to tip Puck over femme in that showdown?
I am, yep.
Zoe versus Shirin?
Shirin.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you were Zoe all over.
I know.
I'm going to go Zoe.
I might regret that.
I'm going to go Zoe right here and now. We'll make a friendly wager.
Yes.
A new shirt for me versus, I don't know, whatever. What do you want?
I don't know.
To the value of a shirt. So.
I don't know. Right now I could go a coffee.
A coffee.
I'm happy with
okay,
a
sure.
coffee.
Yeah, done.
So now that we've gone with the women, we have to go back to the men.
Okay.
To the showdown.
Wout van Aert, I'll say it again. Mathieu van der Poel. He's someone that I, again, immediately admired as a bit of a showman when I came into my cycling interests really got going. And I like that a lot. I love it when they come together because if they're not racing and trying to tear each other's hearts out, they're hugging and cuddling and bromancing like no one's business.
It's a fun relationship they've got between them. So they go in as the favourites, no question. Our reigning champion, Tom Pidcock, he's not here.
Hang on, sorry.
Where
Just
are
having
you,
a
Tom?
quick look around. Where's Tom Pidcock?
And he's actually copped a bit of flack for not defending his jersey.
Yeah,
but,
what?
Well, he's got some pretty big road goals this year.
Okay.
It's only 3 weeks to the Classics. But more importantly than that, he said the last season where he won the world title, but he kind of lost his love for cyclocross. And it was a little bit of, a bit of a slog for him. And so he thought that this season wouldn't really be something. So he planned not to focus on it. He ended up doing it, ended up kind of falling in love with it again. So we will see him back, but it isn't in his program for this year.
Okay.
Van der Poel and Van Aert, they're about 50-50, I reckon. They both kind of back themselves, but also acknowledge the other one.
Yeah.
Van der Poel's had a bad back. But
Another bad back?
Wow. But the course in Hoogerheide, I think I'm saying that right.
Well done. I think, yeah.
It might change a few times, is where his father grew up.
Oh.
And his father was involved in course design. And I believe they've minimised the amount of 180-degree kind of hairpin turns on the course because they're the real pinch points for the bad back.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So there's a bit of, don't worry, son. I got you in the course design. Okay.
I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that. But
is that, is there a COI conflict in here or no?
Oh, look, I would say a very strong one.
Remember that bend that we had in our backyard when you were a boy when we built that little bike path? I've replicated that bend on this course for you. So wink, wink, you'll be fine.
There you go, darling.
Okay.
I'm not sure that he speaks like that, but anyway.
Jeez, we are firing shots in the Wheelhouse bunker today.
So I reckon, I don't know. I'm torn.
I don't think you love it.
I don't love it, but I'm thinking that Van der Poel might have it.
Oh, okay.
Because
I cannot believe that might be the first time ever that you've tipped against Wout van Aert.
But on the World Championship scale, like elite world titles for cyclocross, Van der Poel has 4, Van Aert has 3 against each other. Like quite a rivalry, right?
I'm going to stick with Wout.
But the temperature, the weather predictions, they say it's going to be dry. That suits Van der Poel. If it's wet, Mr. Van Aert.
Wet Wout.
Wet Wout.
Okay. I really want a new shirt, so I'm going to go with Wout because I feel like he's going to just get
You really
the job
need
done.
some new wardrobe. Like, there's a common theme coming through.
This is the shirt that walked up the walk screw in Adelaide too, so let me tell you.
Has it been in the wash since?
No.
Oh, heavens.
No, of course it has. Industrial.
Little backtrack there. Yeah. Of course.
I want to talk, we could keep talking about cyclocross and the personalities that are involved and all of that, but I think we should maybe move on. I want to get a quick thought from you. Because I was wondering about this. We were chatting about this all the way back in Wollongong at the Worlds last year, so the under-23s racing opens. Like, what's the point? How does it, you've mentioned it not 5 minutes ago on this very episode. So where do you stand on this? What's the point of the category?
I think originally the point of the category is for development because usually under 23 riders haven't had the opportunities and it's a giant leap from under 19s to open.
Yeah.
But as the sport's evolved, that has changed, actually. We're seeing, riders like Pogacar win the Tour de France in their early 20s when technically they'd still be in the under 23 category. Times have changed. And that, even on the road, we talked about it a lot in Wollongong, because I think that makes the men's under 23 category to a degree redundant, but to a degree, because there are still a lot of athletes who develop later. And I think you still need that. For the women, it's pretty new.
Yeah.
And in fact, so new that they don't even have their own race at the World Championships yet.
Indeed.
On the road. It's still all combined. Cyclocross is a really interesting one because it's more evolved than any other discipline when it comes to the females especially. And you are getting a lot of the world's best still in the under 23 category.
Yeah.
But because there isn't the same structure around professionalism and whatnot, you don't have the same question as you do on the road about do they belong there or not. I mean, I think if you're under 23, you have every right. To be honest, if it was me and I thought I could win elite, I'd
You'd want to be
elite.
in the elite pot for sure. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but I guess it's the sport's in a good place for the women, especially if there's that decision to be made.
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe they can just play a game of paper, scissors, rock to decide who races. Oh, that was a really bad segue, but I wanted to try it. I don't.
Let's give it a go.
You know what I love? When something happens in a sport and then 6 months later it gets picked up outside of the sport and becomes a thing again. So we're going to finish up today chatting about Pog having a bit of paper, scissors, rock. Now, firstly, how do you say it?
Well, I say paper, scissors, rock.
Yeah, so do I.
But apparently the rest of the world, including the definition on the interwebs, Joel, it says rock, paper, scissors.
That is backwards and I don't like it.
I don't like it either, but a good old game of paper, scissors, rock went on at the Tour of Slovenia in 2022.
Long time back. We're going back here.
We're going back. Yeah. And Pog and Rafa Majka crossed the line together. They did a little showman's paper, scissors, rock about who would win to cross the line. A couple of days ago, it was retweeted or re-put out by History in Memes.
On Twitter,
yeah. It's gone bananas. But the bananas responses, gosh, it's a cracker. Twitter can be good and bad, right? Are from non-cyclists. So History in Memes is not a cycling account. It's a bit more mainstream than that. And there's a lot of people who've put in their 2 cents worth about this scenario, not understanding the nuances of it. And quite frankly, Joel, it's been hilarious.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
It's every child wins a prize. This is what's wrong with society. This is bullshit.
I think that's the cracker.
Yeah.
This is what's wrong with society.
Yeah.
I'm like, really?
Yeah.
What a privileged life you live if you think this is what's wrong with society.
Whatever happened to work your hardest and may the best man win? Oh, that's another one.
I know there were
the best man win too. Like let's not forget this. Anyway,
let's
all
not
good.
forget ladies. But literally hundreds, thousands of these quite out of touch comments that clearly don't understand the situation or the scenario.
And the fact that it happened 6+ months.
Well,
that's
right. Like, why is this even in the media again? Very funny. It made me laugh, and it also made us do a little bit of investigation.
Okay.
This is it's called Rochambeau.
Yes.
It's not called paper, scissors, rock or rock, paper, scissors. It's called Rochambeau.
Rochambeau.
And it's a Chinese hand gesture game. So there you go. I mean, I think if I said to any of my friend group, hey, want to play Rochambeau? They would not know what I was talking about. Yeah. So there you go. We're on a path to educating
rock, paper, scissors.
Our listeners.
According to Wikipedia as well. So
paper, scissors, rock to me.
My first experience of it was on the Sega Master System console. It was in a game called Alex Kidd, and it wasn't called either of those things. It was called Jenkins, and I don't know why. We'll have to investigate that. That'll be a special episode on the Wheelhouse podcast. But as you say, context behind it is Podge being a sportsman and an athlete and honouring him for the assistance and the service that he's provided him. It was actually quite a lovely moment.
It was a lovely moment in the sport. Out of context, though. It's the bane of our existence.
Gee, I hope we never get taken out of context on this podcast. We would be
probably
over.
A bad episode for it, Joel.
This has been a lot of fun on the Wheelhouse podcast. Always a pleasure to be on the bunker, Kate.
Likewise.
Okay, well, thank you for liking, sharing. Tell everyone you know. It's a lot of fun. It's a Wheelhouse podcast. A big shout out to everyone who makes it possible, including our beloved Merksy, who's not here today because he's in mourning for Peter Sagan, who hasn't passed but has retired from not the whole sport, but just part of the sport. But we'll still treat it like a grieving process. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time on the Wheelhouse podcast. This episode of The Wheelhouse was brought to you by our friends at Grow Getters Group, Champion System and Pieterse. Produced at River City Studios for Listener. Executive produced by our mysterious man Merksy. Written and hosted by myself, Joel Spreadborough, and Kate Bates.